air. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome to Emergency Management Associates. We're coming to you from the Area Command, 392 miles west of Kitty Hawk Beach, North Carolina. And I think we don't have our camera on board. Just a second here. I think I can fix this. There we go. We got our camera fixed. How about that? That's awesome. Anyway, guys, I want to welcome everybody to a show this afternoon, this evening. What we're bringing you here is an update to last night's information we gave you. We talked to you last night about a Russian spacecraft that had been launched in 1972. We talked to you about a Russian spacecraft that got launched in 1972, and it never got out of Earth orbit. And it had a very high Earth orbit. It couldn't get loose from its second stage motors that carried it up to the Earth orbit, and it was supposed to be launched out into space towards Venus. That didn't happen. It obviously didn't happen. This was at reentry last night. We never did see it. The reentry was not broadcast. However, I want to tell you what happened here. Okay? This is the flight path on the left side of your screen here. This is the flight path that this spacecraft followed up until its disappearance about 3 o'clock this morning, 3:30 this morning. As you can see by this flight path, okay? Look very closely where this spacecraft allegedly was lost right now. Okay, you can see this was over in northern South America. This spacecraft was lost around northern South America. At least that's what its flight path was. You can see the flight path coming out of Australia. Once it got out over the Pacific, over in the eastern Pacific, and over northern South America, approximately Colombia, the flight path was disconnected. We don't have the exact information about where the flight path went. All of a sudden, all telemetry from all sources throughout the military and throughout the world went blank. The European agency also went blank as well. Now, let me lower this down here so you can see what I'm seeing. Okay? Look at the flight paths, the 4 different flight paths here. Okay? The 4 different flight paths has it going over across Mexico, over in the southern United States, up the eastern seaboard, up towards Virginia and North Carolina. The second flight path you see here also goes through Central America, out into the Atlantic Ocean, up over towards the islands over here near the Azores, and now out over into Europe again. The third flight path here comes out of the Pacific out here, goes over northern South America, and up over into the Atlantic and over into Europe again. This never made it out of South America. The flight path trackers lost track of the satellite. Totally lost track of this space ball. Literally a space ball. Russia developed this spacecraft to withstand the temperatures on board Venus, withstand the atmospheric drop through the Venus atmosphere. It was a very tough spacecraft. Now, as it maneuvered through our atmosphere last night, it got as low as 72 miles above the surface. The flight path drew it near 72 miles above the surface. After that, all radar tracking was off. Nobody knew where the spacecraft was. Then it apparently went around the Earth one more time. went around the Earth one more time. That's when all hope was lost as to exactly where this spacecraft was. Now I'm going to drop this, the flight path and the description of this spacecraft here. I'm going over to the USGS map. The USGS map is going to try to show us where some people thought it landed. Okay, let me take off my banner. Let's take off our webcam here, and let's show you where the spacecraft allegedly landed. There are a lot of trains of thought as to where the spacecraft landed. A lot of people have been thinking about it. A lot of people have been analyzing what had happened to it. Okay, now let's go over here to Java, Indonesia. This is Java, Indonesia. Some scientists believe that this spacecraft should have stayed over here just south of Java, Indonesia. That's where they believe it dropped into the ocean. We don't know for sure because, like I said, all spacecraft tracking was lost about 3:45 this morning. The spacecraft was supposed to have been dumped into the Pacific Ocean about 3:30, 3:29 a.m. this morning. I was up at that hour. At that point in time, all spacecraft tracking was lost. Nobody could find the spacecraft in space at all. Not the United States Air Force, not Space Command, not the United States military, not European agency, and not the spacecraft tracking at NORAD. Nobody had any clue where the spacecraft went. But apparently, after it went north of South America here, after the spacecraft went up here over to Colombia here, that's when all communication was lost. All data trackers were lost after that. Apparently, the spacecraft kept on going, somewhat like this. Okay, it supposedly went over London, England here. It traveled out here through the Eastern Mediterranean, over Italy, over here in Croatia, over through Romania, all the way over here into the Black Sea here, and also around here again through Iran and Iraq area here, Afghanistan, Tajikistan, over China here, and drop down here like this. Drop down here like this. It allegedly crashed off the southern coast of Java down here. Nobody saw the spacecraft. There is no visual verification where this spacecraft left. No visual verification, but the experts are saying that Kosmos 482 landed in the Indian Ocean out here off the coast of Java this morning. That is the latest from the spacecraft. That is the latest information that we have about what happened here. We don't know. We honestly don't know what happened. Okay? Like I said, after the data was lost, I stayed up till 4 a.m. this morning, another half hour. I was up another 30 minutes after they lost data tracking. I stayed with everything that I could find. I was over at NORAD. I was bouncing all over Space Command. I was bouncing all over other sources. But nobody could tell me exactly what happened. I pulled all the information I could today. That's what I've been doing. That's exactly what I've been doing. Now, Lamb is the Light is here in the chat. Says so much stuff over our heads. I understand that. I totally get that. Now, I have been following spaceflight since I was a little kid. I actually know more about spaceflight than almost anything but my geology. Geology and spaceflight is where I'm at. Geology and spaceflight is where I'm at. Now, I can understand where you might not understand what's going on. I spent a lot of time today going over all the data. I've been spending all day long going over all the data. I was up to the middle of the night, like I said, till 4 o'clock this morning, pulling all the information. That's what's going on. Now, does anybody have any questions about anything? Okay, Richard Smith says it's highly radioactive, though. I agree. It probably is. It probably is. I don't know the propulsion system on board Cosmos 482. I have no clue. Okay. Allegedly, it was hydrogen and oxide. Oxygen oxide. Okay. I don't know. Could be kerosene and oxygen. Okay. That's what I do. That's what I believe. That's what the US and Russia used to use in Germany as well. Richard Smith says he believes that the radioisotope thermoelectric generator was on board. That's possible. That's possible. But Russia is not talking about anything. Russia does not want to have anything to do with it. Some people last night on the commentaries were saying they wish it would land on the Kremlin with Putin sitting there. Now, I don't like talking about that. I don't like talking about some of the other scenarios that they wish it was land on Mar-a-Lago or land on Vance or land on Trump or whatever. I don't like that. Those are the kinds of talk that went on all night last night. Now, there are a lot of thoughts about this. I'm willing to entertain any questions that you have. I've gotten a lot of answers, but I don't have everything. Okay? Sleeping Volcano says, if not, I can go home. Sleeping Volcano, I don't really want you to go home except you're home here on this earth. Sleeping Volcano says she was up all night as well. I hope you're doing well. Sleeping Volcano, guys, wasn't feeling good last night. I'm actually surprised to see her putting up volcano and earthquake information earlier this morning. I was hoping she would rest and get enough rest where she wouldn't be in pain anymore. She's been in a lot of pain. Her husband himself has also been and has gone through surgeries and all kinds of stuff, and we wish them the best. We also want to wish all you mothers happy Mother's Day as well. It's been a tough day. I understand that. I totally get that. Sleeping Volcano says, thank you, having heart procedures in 2 weeks. God bless you, sister. We appreciate you. We appreciate and love you. We really do. Does anybody have any questions about Cosmo 482? Okay. For all intents and purposes, it could be in outer space still. What was happening? What was happening? I could put up the Earth. In fact, let me see if I still have this. No, I don't think I've got it. No, I don't think I've got it. What was happening? Let's say my hands put together like this are the globe, the Earth. Okay. What the Cosmo 482 was doing, it was dipping down into the atmosphere like this. It will get within 74 miles of the Earth like this, and then all of a sudden it would skip off into the upper atmosphere again and go around the Earth until it got to a certain point. Then it would start heading back down. The lowest point that we could track, was when it was climbing again from the 72, 73 miles above the Earth and back out into space. Okay? I think it was like 123 miles above the Earth at one point. Then I heard it went to 142 miles and then it started coming down again. But we don't know for sure. That's all hearsay. But it allegedly was skipping off the upper atmosphere like you'd skip a rock over water. That's what it looked like to me. Every time it got to a certain point within 74 to 72 miles above the Earth, it would skip off into space again and go back down like this. Skip off into space and go back down. The trajectory, guys. Let's talk about trajectory. Okay? When it would come in at a certain angle. That is the clue. And the spacecraft, no matter where it was coming from, whether it was a United States spacecraft coming from the moon or Mars or whatever, the spacecraft has to enter the Earth's atmosphere at a certain angle. Otherwise, it will skip back out into space like this. Okay, it has to come down at a certain angle to enter the atmosphere and make connection with Earth. If it doesn't, it will go down to a certain angle and then it will bounce back up into space like this. Okay, that's what happened last night. Richard Smith says he was up until 2 a.m. At that point in time, I was also thinking of going to bed, but I didn't do it. Like I said, I was going to come back on the air last night at 3:30 in the morning to tell you it had made a splashdown in the Indian Ocean or the South Pacific. That's where scientists thought it would go. But we lost the signal once it left the South Pacific and made the climb up over the Eastern Pacific over into Colombia. That's when the signal was lost for all tracking data stations. Nobody could track it after that. Lee, MSN News says the magnetic pole shifted again. It's always been shifting. Okay? The magnetic pole has always been shifting. It's going to shift a bunch more. It's going to shift a bunch more. Does anybody have any questions, though? Yes, Richard, it was possibly radioactive. Lena says her body's also in pain more than usual. Ladies, I want to wish you the best. We will be praying for you. God bless you. God bless you. You might have the healing enough to be out of some kind of pain. Okay? I want to bless you to be out of some kind of pain. I know that's rough. I've had my kind of pain as well. This is not fun. Stephen Wilkin says that's her world of pain daily. I'm so sorry to hear that. Shastine is back in the chat. Welcome, Shastine. We're glad to have you here. Thank you so much. MJ is asking, wonder if it interfered with more satellites. That's unknown. Okay? That's unknown. Last night, I also saw a visual verification of that Space Corps had up on their website. The atmosphere around Earth was literally littered with polka dots, tiny dots all around the Earth everywhere. There are probably 3,000 space parts, whether it's satellites or spent space bodies, old rocket bodies, old pieces of rocket pieces, okay, all over the place, literally all over the place. Now, why in heck would we be able to enter the atmosphere enter the upper atmosphere with a rocket or a spacecraft headed for the space station, with all the pieces of rocket bodies and pieces of rocket or spent space parts orbiting the Earth? It's unreal. It's literally unreal. But what I saw from Space Force was unreal last night. Heidi Petrick just gave us another 5 EMA associate gift memberships. Chris 91 received a gift membership. Gretchen Beach received a gift membership. Don DeModi, David Lowe, and Jerry L. received emergency management gift memberships. Everybody who received a membership, a 1-month membership here, please thank Heidi Petrick. Heidi, God bless you. Heidi and several other people have been giving away memberships here, and we greatly appreciate it. It helps keep this program on the air, and we also welcome people here. We appreciate you here. Also, please, folks, please subscribe to our channel. We're trying to grow this channel for obvious means to help people understand what's going on our Earth today to help save lives. The whole purpose of Emergency Management Associates is to let everybody know what is happening, where it's happening at, and also to prepare people for what is going on. That's the biggest job we have here. Lama's Light is asking, does this space stuff ever collide? Yes, it does. They have had to bat down the hatches on the space station, literally. certain parts of the space station are better built than others. And when there is a chance with a collision with space debris, they go into a certain part of the space station, or they even have gone into spacecraft ready to jettison themselves out into space to avoid a collision with this space debris. Occasionally gets that bad. Okay? And I know for a fact when they launch space flight crafts, manned spacecrafts up in the upper atmosphere going to the space station, wherever they go. I know when they launch those, they launch it during a certain window time. They have to launch it through a certain window to avoid space debris being in their path. So occasionally, yes, it does. Okay? It's a sad day if that ever happened and someone got hurt. Happy birthday, Richard. I sent a birthday wish over on Facebook Messenger, but I wanted to make sure Richard got that from us. Happy birthday, Richard. Appreciate you, brother. Appreciate you a lot. Chastina, God bless you as well. Appreciate you, girl. Does anybody have any questions for us? Okay. Please subscribe to this channel. Help us grow this channel. And when you subscribe, hit that little bell icon. Click on that little bell icon. That should get you notified when we come on the air. Click on that little bell icon. I just saw our webcam sees again. There we are, we're back. Click on that little bell icon, and when you click on that bell icon, the items come up. There will be a drop-down menu, 3 items come up. Click on the word ALL, all. When you see that drop-down menu, 3 items come up, click on the drop-down menu and click the word ALL, all. That should get you notified when we come on the air, every time we come on the air. But be advised, even our moderators are not getting notified when we come on the air. You have to keep checking your subscription, and also click on that little bell icon. That will make sure you get notified when we come on the air. Unfortunately, YouTube doesn't always do that, and they unsubscribe people. That's the other situation. They unsubscribe people, which is a very sad state of affairs. Okay? Oh, Richard got a message from someone down under last night when it turned midnight. That's awesome, Richard. That's cool. I have quite a few friends over there in Australia myself. A lot of friends over there. Gosh, oh yeah. I have many, many friends over there. It's really awesome. It really is awesome. What's interesting to me, what's very interesting to me, is that I have a worldwide audience here. I have a worldwide audience. And not just that, it's real fun. Because over the years, I've gained a lot of friends throughout the world, literally around the world. One of my friends wanted me to help teach a women's group one Sunday. So we did it through YouTube video. And I was on the air with her in her church where I was helping her teach a lesson to her women's group. It's incredible. I've also had very many friends over in Australia, over in Perth, Australia, over in Sydney, in Wellington, Australia, up in Queensland, Australia. Gosh, I can't remember every place right now. In northern Australia there. Incredible. I've got friends over in Japan. I've got friends over in Indonesia. I've got friends in South and Central America. As you know, some of you here in Canada, you know that I have quite a few friends here in Canada. Quite a few of our EMA family members are from Canada. We greatly appreciate all of you. Got people in Europe, Scandinavia, Sweden, Norway, Denmark. People over in Ireland, England. It's awesome. It really is awesome. Jesus, let's see. Justina says, thank you for the information. We appreciate it. Diana 2 is here as well. Now, Diana 2 is asking, did I feel the earthquake? Let's bring up the USGS map. I want to talk about it again. Okay. What happened early this morning? I believe it was just after 8 a.m. this morning. We had an earthquake in Tennessee that hit. Okay. Earthquake in Tennessee that hit. This earthquake was over near Knoxville, Tennessee. Over near Knoxville, Tennessee, right here. Okay. Now, it was close enough to Morganton. This was over Knoxville, Tennessee is here in the Eastern Continental Divide in the Blue Ridge Mountains here. This is where that 4.1 earthquake was. Okay. Now, I have evidence. I have evidence that this may have been as strong as a 5.5 earthquake. This may have been as strong as a 5.5 earthquake. It's not unusual to have USGS downgrade the earthquakes to something like a 4.1. Usually they downgrade them to the nearest 0.9. In other words, if it was a 5.5, they would downgrade to 4.9. But it's not unusual for them to downgrade it to 4.1 either. They've done it many times throughout the last 6 years that we've been on the air. But this earthquake hit here in the Blue Ridge Mountains. I live just about right here. I live right here in the foothills of Western North Carolina. Right here. Yep, there's where I live right there. Morganton, North Carolina. Yes, we felt that earthquake. Now, we did not feel it as a 4.1. We didn't feel it even as a 3.5. We felt it like it was a 3.1, 2.9, 3.1. There was just a slight movement of the bed, a slight movement under my feet as I put my feet on the floor. That's all we felt. Now, how could that be? How could that be? When that happens, guys, when that happens, it depends on a lot of things whether we're going to feel it or not. Let me explain this. When I lived in Salt Lake City, back in 2018, there was a 5.6 earthquake that had hit in Magna, Utah, just south of the Great Salt Lake. I was 25 miles southeast of there. All I felt that morning when it hit was at 7 o'clock in the morning. All I felt was a movement in my bed. That's all. Just a slight shaking of the bed. When I put my feet on the floor, the floor was still shaking. But it was just a slight shaking. That 5.6 was a large earthquake. It did millions of dollars of damage in downtown Salt Lake City. But down south in Sandy, Utah, where I lived, all I felt was a little bit of shaking. That's the same process here. One, it depends on where that earthquake hit, where the epicenter was. It depends on the bedrock of the area. The bedrock will echo a certain frequency. The bedrock where that earthquake hit will echo a certain frequency, and that will echo the earthquake waves out further. Now this here, where we live in the foothills of the mountains, we live in the foothills, the eastern foothills of the Blue Ridge Mountains. Right here, it's not as granite-like as it is up in the top of the mountains near Knoxville, Tennessee. As a result, we only felt a slight shaking. We only felt a slight shaking. Now, we are probably, I want to say, oh gosh, we are probably 100 miles northeast of Knoxville. We felt a slight shaking here. Richard Lyle said he felt that earthquake. He said he was about 35 miles from the epicenter. Not surprising. Not surprising. Richard, how much of a shaking did you get? Did you feel quite a bit of shaking or just a little bit? Diana 2 says it shook her house in Mecklenburg County. Mecklenburg County is over by Charlotte, North Carolina, which is further northeast from where I'm at. And that's over near it's not near the coast, but it's closer to the coast. I've been in Charlotte before as well. Several times, in fact. Richard, you still with us? Did you feel the earthquake really shake, or was just slight shaking? Richard says it was just enough for me to realize it was an earthquake. Probably similar to what I had. Probably very similar to what we felt here. Richard says he'd been in so many earthquakes back when he lived in Southern California. I did too. I lived through like 3, 5.6, 5.7, 5.8 earthquakes in San Diego County. Then when I was in San Diego again in 2010, I was visiting San Diego as an observer, and during an earthquake drill there in San Diego County, we went real world early. That earthquake hit April 10th, or April 3rd, 2010, Easter Sunday. Incredible. We went real world a day early. Usually we start our earthquake drills on Monday morning, but this was early Sunday morning. Unreal. We instantly went to the emergency operations center there in San Diego County, and we instantly got on the air with our radios. We got on the air with our computer systems, and we went real world. We're trying to help save lives. I personally went outside the operations center that morning and saw glass windows falling from skyscrapers onto the street below. Incredible. I was up in Northridge after the main quake up there. Unreal. I know what earthquakes are like. Arnold Smith is talking about the solar flares causing bodily functions to alter, headaches, confusion, body pain, etc. That might explain some of the body pain that you all are feeling that I've also felt. That happens. It happens all the time, unfortunately. And it also has created some earthquakes as well. That's also contributed to earthquakes around the globe. And that's possibly one reason. Now, I've got a lot of things to talk about when it comes to this spacecraft. One of the things I forgot about was these solar flares. When that solar flare last night hit, and it was just about 3:30 this morning, solar flare left the sun and it instantly hit the Earth right away. It was an S-class flare. It hit the Earth just like this. And at that point in time is when the flight trackers went awry and we lost signal from the Kosmos 482 spacecraft. So that might have contributed to us not being able to track the spacecraft. But it also caused some earthquakes as well. In fact, let's back this out. Let's talk about some of these earthquakes that hit. Okay, out here in the South Pacific. This is a 4.2 moderate earthquake. This is south of the Fiji Islands here. This is also 510 kilometers deep. This is a fairly deep earthquake. As a result of this earthquake here, okay, we're going to have another large earthquake. This is a 4.2. This 4.2 is going to propagate a 5.0 earthquake. This 4.2 is going to propagate a 5.0 large earthquake. It's going to propagate a stronger 5.0 and shallower earthquake. This is a deep earthquake. The 5.0 is going to be a much shallower earthquake. North of there, this is west of Huma, Tonga, Huoma, Tonga. This is a 4.5. This is 495 kilometers deep. This is also going to propagate an earthquake. Now, this is not as deep as some of the other earthquakes. This is going to propagate probably a 5.2, 5.3 earthquake. This 4.5 is going to propagate probably a large 5.2, 5.3 earthquake. All these earthquakes that are going to be propagated are going to happen. They're going to hit in the next 3 to 10 days. 3 to 10 days. There's also another earthquake very close to there. Not that one, but this one here. This is a large 5.0 earthquake by itself. This is also 616 kilometers deep. This is a very deep earthquake. As a result of this 5.0, this 5.0 here is going to propagate a very strong 6.1, 6.2 earthquake. This 5.0 here in the Fiji region, in the eastern Fiji region, is going to propagate maybe even a 6.2 to 6.3 very strong earthquake in the next 3 to 10 days. In the next 3 to 10 days. So now, because of these 3 earthquakes alone, we're going to have 3 more earthquakes. 2 in the lower 5 range and 1 in the 6.1, 6.2, possibly even 6.3 range as a result of this earthquake here. 1 more earthquake in this region. This is Luvuka, Fiji, 249 kilometers east of Luvuka, Fiji. This is also 532 kilometers deep. Still a fairly deep earthquake. This 4.2 is going to propagate another 5.0, 5.1 earthquake. This earthquake is going to propagate another 5.1 to 5.2 earthquake. And again, it's going to hit within the next 3 to 10 days. So because of these 4 earthquakes here, we're going to see stronger shallower quakes in the next 3 to 10 days. Expect that. Expect that. Now, there may be more than that. There may be more than that because even during the last few days, we've had earthquakes in this region, and they were deep earthquakes. But we're going to see some larger earthquakes here. It's a fact. It's a fact. And along with these earthquakes, you're going to see people's, or anybody, man or any animal, their behaviors could change. Their behaviors could change, and they may also experience pain. Any living thing this solar energy can affect. Any living thing this solar energy can affect. Okay? Now, I had to explain to someone else earlier today. They had a thread over on Facebook. They had an earthquake thread on Facebook. They were talking about the New Madden Fault. I want to talk about this. It all fits into everything we're talking about here. Anytime we have earthquakes, this solar energy coming from the sun hits the earth like this. And it doesn't matter whether the earth is facing the solar flare like this, but the solar flare hits earth facing like this, and then it envelopes the entire earth like this. That's what happens. When that happens, the solar energy hitting the earth heats up the plates, it heats up the tectonic plates, it heats up the faults as well. It heats up the core of the earth as well. When that happens, all that material that is holding the plates together like this, all the material that's holding the plates together or holding the faults together as well. All that material, whether it be sand, gravel, dirt, plant material, whatever it is, all that material that's been holding those plates and faults in place like this, it's called friction. That material that's holding the plates in place becomes a more greasy, oily-like substance. When that happens, it allows the earthquake faults or the plates to move more freely, causing earthquakes, earth movement. That's what happens. That's what happens. And that's what happened today. That's what's been happening all along. Now, we've had very little solar flares, very small solar flares. Okay? Last night I talked about the solar disk, okay? In fact, let me see if I can bring part of that up right now. All right, let me see here. Yeah, right here. Right here. This is the solar disk as it was yesterday during the day. Look at the black spaces here on the sun, especially on the lower southeast side of the sun here. These are sunspots. These sunspots is where we have had the solar flares originate from. Okay? What happens? The sun sparks filaments out from the sun like this. The sun puts out filaments of plasma radiation like this coming out from the sun. It depends on how strong those filaments are. Some of those filaments launch these flares far out into space. Some of that has happened. Some of that has happened. Over in the northern regions of the sun as well. You see those black areas of the sun? That's also where we've had solar flares. You can see the outer perimeter of the sun as well. Okay? You see the solar flares there? What's going on? Those solar flares are being launched out in space like this. It depends on sometimes the outside perimeter of the sun is called the terminator. It's called the terminator. When solar activity launches out from the terminator, it goes out into space. Depending on how close to the terminator it is and the front-facing side of the sun, will depend on whether the Earth gets hit with a sideways glance like this. Whether the Earth gets hit with like a sideways glance like this. In that case, part of the Earth will still be affected by that solar flare. Sometimes a sideways glance from the plasma radiation. That does happen. But that's why you have pain. That's why you have some disorientation. That's why you have mood swings. That's why you can have pain with your body, as well as these earthquakes as well. This is happening. It's a very real thing. This is a very real thing. Okay. Now let's go back to the earthquake map here. I want to show you what's going on. Okay, so we talked about these earthquakes in the South Pacific down here. Let's go further to the northwest here. Kimbe, Papua New Guinea. This is the 12th earthquake that we've had hit here in the past week and a half. The 12th good-sized earthquake. This is a 4.4 moderate earthquake. We've seen a lot of 5.0s, 5.2s, 5.4s, 5.6 earthquakes hit Kimbe, Papua New Guinea in the past week to 2 weeks. This is just a 4.4 moderate earthquake here. Look where it hit. Look where this earthquake hit. It hit in the northern foothills of this mountain range here. This is a tropical forest here, tropical forest region. Anybody that lives in the nearby vicinity of this earthquake may have felt some shaking. Again, the same principle holds true like the earthquake that we faced here that happened in Tennessee. Depending on how close to the epicenter of this earthquake was, or these people were, they may have felt this earthquake. But moderate earthquakes have a different effect here at Papua New Guinea than we would feel here in the Western world. Here in Papua New Guinea and Papua Indonesia, these people are poor. They're poor. They might earn $600 a year. They might earn $600 a year. They live in cardboard shacks, wooden shacks, and sometimes they might be lucky enough to have a plastic tarp around over them. They might be lucky. When a 4.4, 4.5 earthquake hits, no, it's not as strong as a large quake, but even moderate energy like this will destroy those people's lives. I've seen it happen. I've seen it happen. Some of these people are not rich at all. Their lives are very meager. Okay, but that's what happened here. This is a 4.4 moderate earthquake here in Kimbe, Papua New Guinea. We go over here to Papua, Indonesia. This is Aveyah, Indonesia. This is the third time we talked about an earthquake here in Aveyah, Indonesia. This is a 4.5 earthquake here. The same thing pretty much applies here in Aveyah, Indonesia. These people are very poor. Very poor. Again, this is on the north side of these mountains here. Now, I don't know how close the nearest village is. It might be down here near the coastline. Looks like there's a river coming out of that part of Indonesia here, pouring out into the ocean here. Now, I don't see, there is a small village right here, but this is quite a distance from that earthquake as well. This is quite a distance from that earthquake. Now, I don't know of any other villages. I don't know where most of these population people live. They live along rivers. They live along the ocean side. Okay? That way they can fish. They can help provide for their families. Okay? But that's where this hit is near Aveyah, Indonesia. Okay? Now we go over here into southeastern Indonesia here. This is Timor-Leste, Indonesia. This is another 4.2 earthquake. This is a moderately deep quake, 342 kilometers deep. This is not going to propagate any kind of other earthquake. Right next to it here to the west here, this is another 4.4 here, also in Timor-Leste. But this is a fairly deep earthquake, 546 miles deep, or kilometers deep, 546 kilometers deep. This is a semi-deep earthquake. This 4.4 is going to propagate a larger 5.4 earthquake. This 4.4 here is going to propagate another larger shallow earthquake to be probably around a 5.4 earthquake. And that 5.4 earthquake will probably stay in this region. It will probably stay in this region. Now, it's very sad that the USGS is not showing any other earthquakes here, because there are. There are about 24 earthquakes here at last count earlier today. They're not showing them. Why not? Because they're stupid. They're stupid. Their managers are stupid. The politicians that are telling them to do this are stupid. Really are. Unreal. Kathy Berriman's here. Thank you, Kathy, for being here. Kathy says people actually felt something near her work in Georgia. Yes, quite a few people in Georgia, even over in Alabama. Even over in Alabama felt that earthquake. In Tennessee. Incredible. Yes, Kathy, some people don't feel it. You didn't feel anything. It depends on where the epicenter is and the bedrock around that quake, the bedrock where you felt that earthquake. Because again, the bedrock reflects a sound. The bedrock reflects a sound and reflects the energy of the earthquake. Over here, south of Japan, this is a 4.7 earthquake, 70 kilometers deep here. It's out here in the southern waters here of the Sea of Japan here. Okay? A 4.7 earthquake here is not going to do any damage. The ocean waters here absorb the shock waves of this quake. The ocean waters absorb the shock waves of this quake. Okay? Now, we don't see any other earthquakes here in Japan, which is a fallacy, because there are. Doesn't mean that the USGS is not showing it. Doesn't mean it doesn't happen. It does. Over here on the southeast side of Kamchatka Peninsula, Russia, this is another 4.4 moderate earthquake here. This is 163 kilometers southeast of Petropavlovsk, Kamchatka, Russia. This is 6.2 miles deep, 10 kilometers deep here. This seismic energy here is going to go up this earthquake fault, just like that earthquake down here south of Japan here. These earthquakes are going to follow this fault region. They're going to end up here in the Aleutian Island chain. They're going to end up here in the Aleutian Island chain, over here, near the Rat Islands of the Aleutian Islands. This is a small 3.2 earthquake here, just north and east of there. This is a 3.0 small quake here. This is 128 kilometers southwest of Aveyah, Alaska. Right here, this is a 3.7. This is a 3.7 large earthquake. This is 35 kilometers deep here. This is a 2.6. This is 39 kilometers northeast of Aveyah. Down here, also on this fault zone, this is a 3.9, 4.0. Okay, also 10 kilometers deep. These earthquakes here in the Aleutian Islands, they came from other earthquakes down here on this other earthquake fault here. From Kamchatka Peninsula, over here in Japan, either came up through the Mariana Trench here, or over here on this earthquake fault running from Taiwan up here to Japan. Any earthquakes from here end up going up here into the Aleutian Island chain. They follow the plate boundaries. They follow the plate boundaries. That's why we have earthquakes here. Now we have earthquakes further up here to the east. This is a 2.9, 3.0 south of Perryville, Alaska. Yesterday we had another earthquake even larger than that. This is a 2.9, 3.0. This happens to be 34 kilometers deep, just west of there. This is a 2.5. This 2.5 may be an aftershock from this 3.0. That may be an aftershock from this 3.0 earthquake here. This is also 10 or 20 kilometers deep. 20 kilometers deep. Over on Kodak Island here, we have a 2.0 earthquake here. Over here in the Cook Inlet, 1.5 tremor here near Karlik, Alaska. Karlik, Alaska. Okay? Further south and west here, Ugashik, Alaska, 1.8 tremor. Let's go north here. This is 1.4 here. 1.4 is here near Pope Benoit Landing, Alaska. Pope Benoit Landing, Alaska here. 1.4 tremor. We go north here. This is a 1.8. Wonderful thing. Just a small tremor. 1.8. Further out here into the Cook Inlet here, this is a 1.1, 1.7 here. Nanwalek, Alaska. Nanwalek, Alaska here. Okay? Let's go over to this red earthquake here that just happened. Red indicates it just happened. I just highlighted it blue here. This is a 1.8 near Pedro Bay, Alaska. Pedro Bay, Alaska. We move north. This is also near Pedro Bay, Alaska. A 1.7 tremor. This is a 1.8 tremor. Off here over into the Cook Inlet. Another 1.8 here. Going north, another 1.4 here near Anchor Point. And up here, this is 1.1 tremor. This is 44 kilometers west of Anchor Point. Anchor Point is right here. This is Anchor Point, Alaska, right there. Okay? Go further north. Look where we're having some earthquakes here. Look where we're having some earthquakes here. Can you say Mount Redoubt? Mount Redoubt, right down here on the northern flank of Mount Redoubt. This, they say, is a minus 0.4 microquake here at Mount Redoubt. Mount Redoubt has a dozen or more microquakes every day. This is a volcano. This is also 2 miles deep. 2 miles deep. Over here, right down the throat of the volcano here, they say this is a minus 1.2. I hate to tell them this, but guess what? This is 7/10 of a mile deep. 7/10 of a mile deep. This, I don't know how tall Mount Redoubt is. I don't remember. But folks, I don't believe that this may be below sea level. Okay? I'm sorry, not below sea level, but above sea level. Okay? Unreal. Unreal. Mount Redoubt is getting ready to blow again, too. At some point in time, Mount Redoubt is going to explode. It's going to erupt. Okay? Now, up here to the north here, minus 0.8 microquake, minus 0.3 here. Down here to the south, minus 0.2. Again, above sea level. Interesting. This is 0.6 microquake here. Okay. Now let's go up here. Right here is Anchorage, Alaska here. We go across inlet here. Notice where we have earthquakes. We have Mount Shure up here. Mount Shure is getting ready to erupt again. No, it has not erupted. It's thrown some steam a few times, but all it's doing is rocking back and forth right now. Rocking back and forth. Microquakes and tremors here at Mount Shure. Or not Mount Shure, Mount Spur. Mount Spur here. This is 1.1. There's Secedon, Alaska here. This is Screeton, Alaska here with a 1.6. And further to the northwest here, we have a 1.2. Okay, over here. This is a 2.0 in Willow, Alaska. The governor of Alaska used to live here in Willow. This is a 2.0 minor earthquake here. Right next to the northeast, a 1.0. Right up the river here. This is another 1.2 tremor. There's not too many of them, are there? But up here, guess what we have? Denali, Alaska. Mount McKinley. Mount McKinley, guys. This is a 2.1 earthquake here at Mount McKinley in Denali National Park here. 2.1 minor earthquake here. To the north, outside of Denali National Park. This is a 1.7 tremor here. 1.7. North of there here is a 1.2. Further north of here, this is a 1.7. Now it's interesting here. It's very interesting. These other quakes did not say Denali National Park on them, but this one does. This one's far enough away from mainland Denali National Park that I wouldn't think that they would call this Denali National Park, but they do. USGS does not always call what is correct. But this is a 1.7 earthquake here. Tremor. Tremor. Okay? Now let's go down here into the Gulf of Alaska here. This is a 2.1 earthquake out here in the Gulf of Alaska. It is south, 117 kilometers south of Chenega, Alaska. Chenga, Alaska. Chenega, Alaska. Okay? 2.1 minor earthquake here. We go down here towards British Columbia, Canada. USGS is not showing any earthquakes here, but we know they're wrong. There are all kinds of minor earthquakes and small earthquakes in this area. All kinds of them. Let's drop down here into the Olympic Peninsula. Amanda Park, Washington. When I was tracking the spacecraft last night, There was a lady from Amanda Park. She told me that they had felt an earthquake. She told me that it was strong enough to be thrown out of her bed. That's interesting that now they're showing only a 1.5 tremor here. 1.5 tremors are not possibly even to be felt. You're not going to feel a 1.5 tremor here. This may not have been a 1.5 tremor. The USGS is lying to us again. Okay? I believe she probably felt a 5.0 large earthquake here on the Olympic Peninsula here. This is the Olympic Peninsula. Further to the northeast here, concrete Washington here. This is a 1.4 tremor here. It's interesting to note, they are not showing any other earthquakes here in Washington or Oregon. There are, they're just not identifying any earthquakes here. Over here in the southern part of the Cascadia subduction zone, right here. Look where this earthquake is at. The San Andreas Fault. The northern part of the San Andreas Fault here. This is a 2.1 minor earthquake here. That's the only earthquake here at all. Okay, now let's jump down here into the San Francisco Bay Area. We have one earthquake here along the Hayward Fault. The Hayward Fault here is right next to, just east of the San Francisco Bay Area. This is a 1.3 tremor near Olinda, California. Olinda, California. About 25 to 30 miles to the east. This, folks, is on another fault line. Another fault line. Both these fault lines are deadly faults. Deadly faults here. Folks, we've seen earthquakes on both these faults and it's killed people. Killed and destroyed people and their property. This is a 1.4 tremor here. Now the Hayward and the, I can't even remember what this fault is. Both these faults go closer together as we get here over near Monterey Bay. Then we have to continue with the San Andreas Fault here. All three of these faults come close together right here. This is probably one of the most dangerous areas where these three deadly earthquake faults meet. This is one of the most dangerous areas. If we have one large to major earthquake here, all three of these faults will echo that seismic energy. They will echo that seismic energy, and it will echo all up and down the fault line, and it could also kill people and injure people. Okay? Unreal. Unreal. Further south down the San Andreas Fault, this is the Pinnacles, California. The Pinnacles is an oil and gas pumping region here. Not just on the San Andreas Fault, but it's an oil and gas pumping region, and this is why we have earthquakes here. This is a 1.6 tremor here. Okay? Now, we don't have any other earthquakes until we get here in Southern California. Interesting enough. Guess what? Northeast San Diego County. Northeast San Diego County. This is the southern part of Borrego Springs State Park. The Anza Borrego Desert State Park here. This is the 2.2 minor earthquake. 2.2 earthquake here in Northeast San Diego County. Further to the south and west here. Julian, California here. This is a 0.7. Further north here, Escondido, California. This is a 1.0 tremor here in Escondido, southern Escondido, California. 1.0 tremor here. Unreal. This is Southern California, guys. This is where we're going to see earthquakes. This is where we're going to see major earthquakes. This is where we're going to see a lot of damage. Southern California. Any questions? Heidi Patrick says Mount Redoubt is 10,197 feet high. That's a pretty high mountain. Mount Palomar in San Diego County is only 7,100 feet high. So Mount Redoubt is 300 more feet high on Redoubt. Unreal. Now, as I said over here, this actually, I didn't show you this earthquake. This is over in southern LA area, Trabuco Canyon, California. That's a 1.0 tremor here. Over here in Escondido, southern Escondido, this is a 1.0 tremor here. Up here, further to the north here, this is Palomar Mountain here. Good old Palomar Mountain. Now, folks, this is where the telescope is. This is where the telescope is. Now, folks, this is Palomar Mountain, 7,100 feet high. Unreal. Northeast San Diego County. I used to go up here a lot. I spent a lot of time up here. A ton of time up here. I had a lot of good memories here. But this is also on the Elsinore Fault. And we've seen many earthquakes here on the Elsinore Fault here at Palomar Mountain. This earthquake here in southern Escondido and San Pasqual. This is also southwest of the Elsinore Fault. Separate fault zone. Completely separate fault zone here. Okay? That's what's going on here. That's what's going on here. We're here in Texas. Actually, I'm sorry, this is southern Colorado, Segundo, Colorado. This is a 2.2 earthquake here. I thought this was northern Texas. Segundo, Colorado, 2.2 earthquake. Southern Texas here. Mentone, Texas here. This is a 2.0 earthquake here. 2.0 earthquake. Another 2.2 earthquake here, Mentone, Texas. Back-to-back earthquakes. Further to the south here and west, this is a 1.2 tremor. This is a 2.2 earthquake here. That happens. We go further to the northeast here, Stanton, Texas. This is a 1.1 tremor. This is a 1.4 accurately, Texas. We had a 5.0 earthquake here 2 months ago. A large 5.0 earthquake hit here 2 months ago. This is Westbrook, Texas here, a 2.1 minor earthquake there. This is oil and gas territory. These are oil and gas fracking earthquakes. Let's zoom in here and show you this earthquake near Westbrook, Texas. Oil and gas fields here. All over this area. All over this area. Over here to the northwest, you see a holding pond here. I can't get any closer to this, but you see a holding pond. That's a holding pond where they take the water here that's treated and they flush it down the hole of the drill point to get oil and gas out of. It's called fracking. This is a fracking earthquake here. 2.1 near Westbrook, Texas. These other earthquakes are also in oil and gas areas here. Let me zoom in here. I'll show you this. See this whole area? This is oil and gas here as well. Anywhere where you see a rectangular or square plot of land here, oil and gas plots, all throughout that area. These earthquakes here, this 2.2 here near Mentone, See the oil and gas plots here? Oil and gas field. And also here in Mentone, Texas as well. 2.0. Good old oil and gas. Do we have any questions about anything here? Renee Steppe's here. Renee Steppe's also one of my friends and one of our mods here. She didn't get notified. Like I said, YouTube does not often notify, but check your subscriptions, make sure you're still subscribed, and you also go back and hit the notification bell again, that little red, or not red, but it used to be red, the little bell icon. Click on that little bell icon. That should get you notified when we come on the air. Not always, but most of the time. Any questions, guys? Any questions? I know I've been on the air quite a bit. I didn't expect to be on here more than 10 or 15 minutes, and I know I've probably been on here an hour now. Richard always gets notifications? Wow. That's wild. That's wild. That's wild. All right, guys, if you don't have any more questions, I'm going to get out of here. I hope you have a great rest of your evening here. It is now 7:20 p.m. Eastern Time here in Morganton, North Carolina. I hope you have a great rest of your day. Be safe. If anything else happens tonight, we'll be back on the air to tell you about it as soon as the information becomes available. Until then, take care, guys. Love each other. Happy Mother's Day to everybody. God bless you. We'll see you tomorrow at noon, 12:30 for Come Follow Me, the Seeger said, our weekly Sunday school class on this channel. Have a good night, everybody. Much love. God bless. Bye-bye. Sorry, that's not the one. Sorry, guys. That's the one. Just a second, guys. Wait a second. There we go.